more survivors in our world. We are honored to have survivors and individuals in our midst of their battles, lighting the night with us this evening. As you can imagine, survivors and their families come from all walks of life, and each family has a different story to tell, all inspiring. And to share his story of survival, please welcome Steve Copeland.
Thank you, Tom. It's an incredible honor to be here with you all. 18 years ago, I had pneumonia 5 times over a 15-month period. My pulmonary specialist, Dr. Silva, said to me, "Steve, you're in perfect health. You're like a professional athlete. There's something else going on here. You shouldn't be having pneumonia like this. I want to run some very deep tests." He did, and he discovered that the reason why I kept having pneumonia was that I had the beginnings of multiple myeloma. Multiple myeloma is a form of blood cancer that is in the bone marrow. It affects both the bones themselves and the immune system. It is incurable but treatable. I'll never forget the day that I got the diagnosis. There was a doctor that lived in my neighborhood that was walking her dog. And when I told her that I just got diagnosed with Mogus, the precursor to multiple myeloma, she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. That's such a hideous disease. No one survives it." I said, "Thanks for the good news." I was sent to Virginia Oncology. I learned that the average life expectancy was 5.5 years. They told me that they'd been monitoring one patient for 8 years and that 10 years would be a miracle. After 2 years, the doctor who told me that retired, and I was switched to Dr. Alberico. He taught me to identify with those that beat the odds, not those that didn't. He said that I should learn what they do to stay healthy. He also gave me great hope that advancements and treatments would be coming, and that the very best way to live with the cancer is to simply stay as healthy as possible and live life, not fear death. When people find out that I have cancer, I usually make 2 comments. The first is that if it wasn't for this stupid terminal illness, I'm the healthiest guy you know. And the second is, as long as I stay healthy, I'm healthy. It was 5.5 years before I actually had to start taking treatments. I was fortunate that I was being monitored so early. I started medications in September 2006. I was on a steroid called Decadron and an oral chemo agent called thalidomide. It's a very dangerous drug. The bottle had poison stamped all over it. After 2 months, I was switched to a new drug that had just passed clinical trials called Revlimid. It was much more targeted to go straight at the cancer. I was on one drug 2 weeks on and 1 week off, and the other 3 weeks on and 1 week off. So I was never off the drugs. There was no break. Dr. Alberico wanted me to keep on these drugs as long as possible because the longer I could tolerate them, the longer I would keep the cancer at a low level. The only conclusive test to know the levels is a bone marrow biopsy. I've had 9 of them to date. The Revlimid caused extreme fatigue. The steroids made me extremely hyper, irritable, and restless. I had body pain everywhere, in my shoulders, in my hips. I had a bladder infection. I had extreme night sweats. My eyelids looked like they were swollen shut. It was hard to open them. We called this condition chemo eyes. After about 6 months, Dr. Alberico wanted to take me off the treatments because he felt they were too severe. I argued to be on them longer. There weren't a lot of other options. We pushed it all the way close to 10 months. It was brutal. I then went on a drug called Zometa that I stayed on quarterly for 7 years. It caused incredible flu-like symptoms. I want you to imagine the worst flu that you've ever had. The body aches, the chills, and then multiply it by 10. I would take the treatment on Wednesdays and finish at 4 o'clock. Like clockwork, exactly 24 hours later, on Thursday afternoon, I'd put myself in bed, and within an hour or two, the flu-like symptoms would start. They would continue for 9 to 10 hours. All I could do was put myself in a fetal position and just stay in that position and ride it out. The next day, Fridays, I felt like a train had run over me. Near the end of the chemo treatments, my wife Donna and I were working at a weekend boat show in Richmond. These are Donna's words. Steve, continue to work during this time, working very hard to sell boat slips for Taylor's Landing Marine Center. At this show, he was so sick, he practically stayed in the bathroom the whole time. After that weekend of very bad pain in the stomach, he went to the doctor to see what was going on. He had a colonoscopy, and he was diagnosed with colitis. He was on a special rice diet for weeks. For years, my life has been a continuous struggle with health. Chronic fatigue. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and I had my prostate removed. After the surgery, I still had the cancer. I went through 37 days of radiation. My radiologist said, this prostate cancer is really nothing, Steve, compared to your multiple myeloma. That's the serious cancer. I smiled and said, thank you for sharing that with me. Through all this, my finances got very difficult. I needed to sell my interest in the marina while I was healthy to protect my estate. When I first left the marina, health insurance cost me $2,700 per month. That could bankrupt most anyone. If it wasn't for my partners and my banker standing by me through this, I would never be here today. I would have lost my house. I was accepted into the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Financial Assistance Copay Program. It helped me pay bills related to my cancer, including health insurance, for 5 years. Without the assistance of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society Copay Program, I would not have been able to maintain health insurance. When you have cancer, you better have good insurance. Cancer ain't cheap. When I first got diagnosed, I didn't expect to ever see any of my grandkids. Max is my 8th grandchild. He's 3 months old. Simba, Lion King. We should all stay as healthy as we can. Waiting for the cure that we know is coming. I would like to thank the Leukemia Lymphoma Society for being here for all of us who need hope. You are an organization doing God's work. Thank you. God bless everyone.